Okay, so we're just
Yeah,
recording.
because
Okay,
we're having discussions here that I think are necessary for the public to see, right? So,
do you want
is
us,
it recording?
Yeah.
It is, okay.
Do you-
So,
we couldn't just put this excerpt, do we want to preface where we're
So,
in?
yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna preface where we're at, right? So where we're at currently, we are sitting here in discussion phase as we do not currently have a quorum. We are discussing the director's report, and this is a matter of finance that came up as far as a directive to the director from last month to do an evaluation of our current status of interest rates. So Dawn, if you can give another quick summary to what you're at again? I'm sorry.
Yes, so what I put in the director's report is that I started off with a call to Amboy Bank to let the representative know that the trustees were exploring their opportunities for interest rates and return on our accounts. And I was told to let everyone know that just not to compare what interest rates are on your personal investment returns to a municipal deposit, because that's an entirely different thing.
Mhm.
And that our accounts would be raised to 2.5%.
From what? What were they?
Dr. George,
There
you
were
said,
different levels.
It was
I don't want to
0.9.
answer for you, but I had,
0.9. So after your call, you got us raised to 2.5, which resulted in an additional $5,000 in 1 month's interest.
correct.
Okay.
And the other thing that I did, in case the board wanted me to go further, was just to go through all of the banks that insure New Jersey GoodPA funds. And this is where I understand entirely what Dr. George is saying, and I agree
Mhm.
entirely, other than making these phone calls and doing the research.
That's max that you can do it this
And
way.
that's why I
Okay.
said in the report, if you all want me to pursue it further.
So just from a simple assessment of rates, what did you see out there that would be available for us?
I didn't start going through the rates.
Oh, you did?
I looked
Okay.
at the banks, understood the law, the
Okay,
increases to 2.5%.
but we don't know if we went to another bank, what we would get, if it would be
Correct.
much better than that.
Yes. And from what was shared with me there with the responsibilities on the municipal, like I said, the returns aren't going to be with the personal, but that's just the initial, that's what I was able to do in the last few weeks.
Okay, so I think what we need to do is do an assessment of what the interest rates at other banks could be, because I think that was what we were looking for, right? And bring that back to the finance committee to make a determination of what we should be doing. for
Do we
next
have any
steps.
parameters on the number of banks, the geographic location of the banks?
So those rates aren't readily available on the internet or anything. I assume you'd have to call them.
This is from the New Jersey Center. This is, I have several hundred that take care of the New Jersey.
But you have
banks.
the banks, but they're not telling you what their rates are
No.
for those types of.
I have 3-month
accounts.
average balance funds and the dates on those things dating back to 2022. This is what was listed on the state of New Jersey's website.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of these are credit unions. I just, if I could get some more direction on exactly what that is, because this is a very substantial project to go through all of the banks and get rates for everyone.
Yeah, I don't know that we want to go to everyone. I think we just want to have an understanding is if there's a possibility of a much greater return on our investments.
Then I'll
right?
put that on my list.
And then we can take that to finance committee and let the finance committee make a determination of should we be going out for a financial advisor to handle this, or if we feel that the return that we're getting is what we're going to get, we should leave our money where it is, or should we continue to explore other banks?
Yeah, and there's a lot of priorities for the finance
Yeah.
committee that I'm hoping we can get to soon.
Do you want to provide direction to the director about number, like 3 other banks?
Yeah, there's no details in there on recommendations from the state, right? Just that these are the banks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kevin, can I make a comment?
Sure.
I think that this is an unfair task to put on to Dawn. I think what you're asking to do, I don't understand. How many banks are there? Is she going to be doing this for 5 dozen banks? That just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Plus, it's not, a lot of banks put their rates right on their webpage, all right, so you can look them up. But they're not talking about what we're talking about. You know, a municipal, whatever the heck it is, as opposed to a personal one. This is a complicated task, and I just don't think that
Yeah.
it's fair to give it to Dawn. I also think that when I'm asking for a consultant, I'm asking for a consultant for myself as a trustee who has to vote. It's a consultant to the finance committee. The finance committee is not, it exists, as I understand it, to work with the board. It's a finance committee of the board. It's
right.
not, it's not supposed to be doing the whole job.
That's right, but so there's a couple of pieces here that you mentioned, Dr. George, right? So first of all, I wouldn't take up too much of the director's time on this because I don't think that it yields the benefit that makes it worth her time. So that's number one. But I would be interested to just see is if there is, if the rates are much better at other banks. Now, there could be a number of ways to determine that. Speaking to other directors and finding out where they invest their money and what type of returns they're getting, or if they have a financial consultant, if they see any benefit from it. Because again, that's another expense. So if we're going to spend $60,000 a year on a financial consultant to earn another $5,000 a month, i.e. another 60,000, we're just giving that money away.
You're talking on more than $4 million that we have invested, all right? So it's not $20,000 that we're getting a year in interest. So whatever the expense it is, I don't think that's an issue. All I want to do is I want to be a good trustee, vote of conscience with some kind of a brain attached to it. And I don't understand it. I don't think I'm senile. I just want to know what the story is, because the question that was raised to me by somebody in the know, that knows more than I do about it, that said, I think you need to look at that. All I want is an answer. And if I'm not going to get it, that's all right. I won't get it. I just will not vote on things that I can't sign off. But my aim is not to give Dawn a ton of work that I don't think is in her job description. And the people before her didn't do it. And then when you talk about the finance committee right now is Maria. Okay, Frank is in the hospital. You're missing a third person. I volunteered to fill in. I never heard anything. So somebody doesn't want me to fill in. That's all right. You don't have to have it.
Well, no, I don't think that's the issue, but one way or another, we're asking the director to take on a task here, right? She could go out and she can investigate a couple of banks, a handful, to find out what their rates are and come back to us and say, I see banks are giving 8-9%. I don't think that they're giving that high. Just making that up. Or, yeah, I think that what we're getting is essentially what we're going to see. It's about 2.5%. We could then, or we can ask her, go out and find a financial advisor / consultant, in which case she needs to investigate several of those to find the one that's most beneficial at the best cost to our library that provides the services that we're looking for. So one way or another, we're asking her to take on a task. We may eventually ask her to take on both tasks. We may ask her to go look at several accounts and several banks and come back with some rates. And then we may say, well, we just determined that we need a consultant. And that may be another task. But I think we should take it one step at a time. What do you guys think?
Agreed. I think Joan is asking for help, and I think as trustees, I think that's what we all should be trying to help each other so that we can fully understand everything. I feel like Joan sometimes too. I'm a little bit of a fish out of water when it comes to these kind of things. So I think us making some kind of effort to find something like that so they can talk to, you know, not just Joan, but maybe anybody else who'd be interested. I know I would be interested. So if we could maybe do something along those lines, I don't know who exactly, where we would start doing that, but I think that would be.
So
Could we talk to somebody like within our chain of, you know, of other libraries that we know? Do we know anybody or the trust or through the trustee network of some sort? Can we do something like that?
There are resources. The state of New Jersey has an excellent resource center for trustees.
Okay.
And then, it's one of the, renewals we were looking at tonight is for SurveyMonkey. And SurveyMonkey, in addition to helping with community surveys and staff surveys, has been very helpful with director surveys to get something out to them very quickly that it gets done. So, what I'll do is I'll look at, reporting back next month with 4 banks.
That'd be good.
All right.
So I think if you start with that, and then I think next month we have a conversation as a full board on, do we feel that there is a possibility that we need to have someone dedicated to looking at our finances,
Okay.
all right?
Because we had talked about maybe like quarterly, you know, and there's different ways to reduce costs for things like that.
Okay.
And one of the things I have to just share, the interim director, Phil Israel, when he was here, is outstanding in this area.
Okay.
Right.
Great.
I just wanted to ask about protocol with when we make a decision about whether or not we're gonna be able to take action, what time frame that is.
If you don't have a quorum and you're waiting for a quorum, you can legally wait and open your meeting anytime at or before 9 p.m.
Okay,
Which is not a recommendation I'm making that you
Yeah.
sit for another hour
No,
and
we're
15
not. So
minutes.
I
So
will try to call Sarah again in a few minutes
Okay.
because she did say she was going to attend.
I'm
Um,
only trying to be,
I did text her
Yeah.
again, but she hasn't replied.
yeah,
So I'm giving her.
I'm
some
not
time.
trying to rush
Um,
anything, I'm just
But, you know, I certainly don't want to have to reschedule this for next week, so.
understood. I appreciate that. So I will just charge ahead.
Okay.
So there's a discussion of hoopla that is scheduled for action tonight, so I'll leave that. We've started using the P card for our imprinted merchandise. People may remember a few years ago, there was a lot of discussion about libraries having credit cards at all. And then gradually everyone realized that we need to have credit cards for certain types of purchases and software. So it's not something we want to use constantly, but this bookmark was an example of the imprinted merchandise that we can save about 1/3 of our cost from local printers by going through online printers. And we have a lot of things coming, so I had a discussion with Maria and we moved ahead with that. The cleaning contract that has been negotiated through the municipality is going to be increasing $700 a month for the library. I checked in with our head of finance and with the BA when we were at a meeting. And I was told that the other contractors were much higher priced. So our option is to either go ahead with the increase and continue to share this contract with Old Bridge, or it would be to go out to bid on our own to see if there's any way that we could do better. So that is a decision for the board. But like I said, when I spoke with the director of finance, she explained that the other companies that submitted bids were much higher than that $700 a month increase.
I think it's getting quite expensive, but I don't think that we have much of a choice. My question to that is, who manages the custodial staff here at the library? You do?
Yes, so we've been doing a lot with that because it is very difficult to do that. We've had some challenges. I've had a lot of discussions with the vendor on how we improve services. I think we've made a marked improvement, but it's definitely come at the expense of a lot of hours. And it's going to continue to.
Who manages that, the custodial staff for the township, do you know?
I believe it's Public Works.
Public Works. So we had a custodian of our own that worked alongside the custodians. Then it came after that person's departure to the opinion of some that we probably should have a facility manager. Someone that does some handyman repairs around the library, can oversee bigger repairs such as the roof and bathroom replacements, and can oversee the custodial staff and potentially work one-on-one with Public Works. I think that probably is what we need to look at. Because if we're going to be paying $700 more for custodial staff, I really feel like we need to get the most out of them. And I don't think we can get the most out of them, no offense to you, because you have so many other priorities with you managing that, right? And managing the rest of the library as well. So I think that there needs to be more of a focus on that.
Yeah, I mean, I will just say I was out on the floor plunger in hand my first week here. Because unfortunately for library directors, that's the way it goes. So we do have a part-time custodian. He's currently doing a minimal amount of driving, as we discussed at personnel many months ago. We had the sorry.
We have two other, I believe it was July, we approved two job descriptions. One was for a custodian, the other one was for a mechanic / bus driver, because we didn't feel we would need a mechanic every day, whatever. We never did anything with it. We passed them, but
We
we
did.
never did anything with
We
it.
did. We absolutely did. We have the custodian and we've had him since soon after that. And the only reason that
To have the custodian, what about the mechanic?
and that's in the director's report. It says the driver's position will be advertised in July.
Okay.
As we
All right, but-
anticipate restoring delivery services. So it was waiting until we had someone to schedule the deliveries. Because having the driver to only do the book drops was not enough.
That's why we put it with the mechanic. okay?
Absolutely.
And when we've had a facilities manager, and when you talk about that, what's the facilities? This building and Lawrence Harbor, whatever, I really don't care. Obviously, the custodian that we've had, and we're going back in the past, did not work alongside of a cleaning person, because the cleaning people worked in the beginning and at the end, and the custodian was in the middle. So they weren't all working together, they had different jobs. I'd like to know how you feel we are in now, because I've gotten word on the street that the building is not in tip-top shape. That the restrooms need more cleaning, that, at any rate, this is garbage on the street. But are you pleased with the setup?
So it's not been entirely to my satisfaction. And as I said, I've been working diligently with the vendor to get that increase. There's a couple of factors there. One is it's me policing. And that's going around and checking the water fountains and checking the carpets. That's one issue. Another issue is that we only have 1 hour a day of cleaning. That's when the public is not in the building. And you can't go in and clean all of the rooms while there are people in them. So,
Maybe need to change the times, okay.
but then that would be someone in the building when there's not a supervisor here. So that's, and that's when it normally is done. So that's one issue. And then, so it's the supervision, it's that, and then, we've been making it work, but is it ideal? No. When there is a facility manager, if there was one, and I'm only giving you examples.
We've had them.
And I understand that the only time I've ever had a building, a library that was completely sound and impeccably clean, it was when we had a facility manager. And I'm just saying that was one time that we did have that and everything was done, but that person was diligent in managing out everything. Managing the cleaning contract, managing potential accident issues, safety issues in the building. All of those things are something that's not entirely being done now. So we actually had, when we hired the one of the other positions, we had someone who was a facility manager of libraries at one of the large universities in New Jersey. who
Where is
lived-
this? This is in a prior place where you worked? It's not-
No, they applied for a position they weren't qualified for here, but there's an Old Bridge resident who is a facilities manager at a large university in New Jersey who's interested in the position. They applied for something that they weren't qualified for, but there are people out there, because I know that's always a concern is will we find someone?
Well, we've had facilities managers, and again, I think Rocco, you know this, you've been around here. They were people who knew Old Bridge, knew the staff, they were not successful. It wasn't any cleaner, and it just didn't work. We've also been where we had our own staff be the cleaners, where we had whatever the heck his name was, Tibby or whatever. He had, I think, 2 people working for him or 4. I know Maria is better at this, than I am. My memory is on it. But we had our own staff and we didn't seem to have a problem in keeping the building clean. Tibby also did minor repairs and whatever. We've gone through all of it. The least successful was when we had the facilities managers. We had 2 of them. One had an office, well, whatever, where Linda was out in the pit working with confidential information, and the facilities manager, who was part-time, had the big office across from the I don't know where your office is now. I think it's your office now, but that was his office. We've tried a lot of different things, and there's no easy answer out there.
No, there isn't.
And to me, who supervises them? Well, in the past, I think Maria did it. Or, Linda, you probably know. Who oversaw the people who came in and worked there? I remember Maria making calls and getting
Yes.
guys removed who were not good here, workers from the vendor got removed. I mean, they weren't good here. I don't know who did it. It wasn't all thrust on the director.
And this is where I have to say, that some of this has come into Irene's area. And quite honestly, her job is really
Yeah.
pretty full. Yeah, exactly. So I
They're
think it's been a
secretaries,
burden for
and
her.
It's above the pay grade to give them responsibilities that are not theirs. It's just not fair. And, I don't know what the answer is. I think you start with, if you are concerned and, with what's happening, the building isn't the way it should be. You're putting much more time in this than whatever. And now we pay what, $4,000, and now it's going up $700 more a month. I think you need to look at it
Yeah.
and
My-
not
my-
throw an easy answer on it. Okay, we want one more $85,000 a year person to fill in. That's not the answer, unless you've looked at everything else, and that's what comes out.
And I
Well,
appreciate.
the other thing you talked about surveys, and again, I'm talking too much, but I always do. I don't understand why there isn't somewhere through Lemex where we can't talk to other directors, and we don't have there are 30 people in there.
39
Why-
now.
Well, why can't you find out what's done? I had one question I asked. What I wanted to know was, what are directors paid in Middlesex County? You know what? You can't find the answer to that. You want to know what school superintendents get made? You can look at the whole list that has everybody on there, top to low, but you can't find out what library directors get paid in Middlesex County. I don't know why.
So just to let you know, Dr. George, when we had a question about how facilities were owned, what was the relationship between the library and the
How are they
town?
maintained? Right.
I sent out a survey. I got great answers and I got great collaboration from the
Okay.
directors. So having that tool, that Survey Monkey tool, is it makes it easy for us to get all these types of surveys done. I have a lot of questions. A lot of directors aren't coming forward with their information. I was called when a neighboring town was looking to hire a director. I was approached about my salary. So this is where everybody's fishing around. But with other things, I just asked all of the directors if anyone knew, when it comes to the atrium outside the garden, I would like to see us, and we'll get through this proposal eventually. I would like to see us have something lower maintenance that more people can enjoy, perhaps tables, a paved area with some umbrellas so that people can go outside, kids can have
Whatever.
programs out there. So I'm just looking for who knows a contractor who
Well, I
does these sort of things.
If that survey thing works for you, that's great. And we
Yeah.
should, do whatever you need to do. But then I also want to know why we're paying $80,000 to Lemex. Or more. What do we pay them for? If we can't even get common, and I think they've gotten too big, all right? I think 39 libraries is not what they started out as when they were going to be Middlesex County.
No,
Whatever.
and Dr. George, if there's one thing that I can reassure you is that I am vocal at our meetings and am making sure that we get our money's worth. And then, yeah,
The other thing, if you want to do research, and then this is I'm boring to death, but if you look up the bylaws of Lemex, anybody can be they're all directors there, okay? And they're not directors, they don't live where the directors, but anyway, anybody could be. And that's why we had Frank Weber was our representative for a while. It wasn't Nancy.
Yep. Okay, so I'm
Anyway,
gonna
that's-
stop you there, Dr. George.
ahead.
I apologize to all of the public for the delay. We did have one board member that was traveling. She has since been able to join the call. Sarah, you're on? Yep. Okay, great. Thank you. So I am going to officially start the meeting.
and public stays in for now.
And
Yes.
public stays in. So this meeting has been advertised in accordance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act and is publicly accessible in accordance with law. Roll call, please.
Kevin,
Here,
Rocco,
Here,
David Citadino, Dr. George,
Yes,
Sarah,
Yes,
Maria, Rosemary, Zainab, Martha,
Here.
and Frank Weber.
okay, salute to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
one nation.
God, indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty, justice for all. Thank you. Okay, so now, unfortunately, we do need to go into executive session for matters of personnel. We should not be too long. So I will ask the director to put anyone that's on the Zoom back into the waiting room. I'll
Need a
ask
motion.
our public, oh, I'm
I'll
sorry.
make the motion to go into executive session.
Thanks. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so if you could just step out, I will close the door and you can wait like over here or you can browse around and I will call you in once we come out of executive session.
And my apologies, this is gonna take me a second. We've got a few people in here.
I didn't hear you.
She's just putting the public in the waiting room and please pause the recording. Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed, right? Okay, sorry. All right.
Out of exec.
Oh, yes,
uh,
sorry.
Out of executive.
You're
for
recording
Rocco
and
Matt.
everybody's back in.
Out of the-
Oh, everybody is back
you're
in?
filming. Thank you.
Motion by Rocco,
Okay,
second by
everyone's
Matt.
back in. Thank you, everyone, for your patience this evening. I know it's been challenging, but we're getting there. We're almost through this. So we are back in regular session, so we will move on with the agenda. So I will go to the minutes. I need a motion for all three items, A, B, and C. The approval of the regular meeting minutes of May 8th, executive session minutes of May 8th, and special meeting minutes of May 14th.
I'll make it.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second all of them.
Thanks. Roll call, please. Discussion, I'm sorry, discussion? I'm sorry, get roll call, please.
Sure, Rocco,
Yes.
Dr. George,
Yes,
Sarah,
Yes,
Maddie,
Yes.
and Kevin.
Yes, thank you. Okay, personnel. So let's do the first two items together, A and B. Accept the resignation of staff librarian to youth services and approve the appointment of managing library youth services. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Dr. George,
Yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
Maddie,
Yes.
Rocco,
Absolutely, yes.
and Kevin.
Yes, thank you. Okay, item C, approve the appointment of staff librarian, Valerie Werner for youth services. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll make it.
Okay, so second.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Okay,
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
sure. Sarah,
Yes.
Maddie,
Yes.
Rocco,
Yes,
Dr. George,
yes,
and Kevin.
Yes, thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay, item D, approve intermittent FMLA leave. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you. Second?
I second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Maddie,
Yes.
Rocco,
Yes,
Dr. George,
yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
and Kevin.
Yes. Okay, I have one item to add. This will be item E. Chris, do you have a motion that you can read for me? or-
Yes, this would be motion to approve the addendum to the library director's May 16th, 2023 contract to include an increase in salary of 2.8% effective July 1. Place vacation time on a lump sum availability basis, subject to reimbursement in the event of early separation, and reimbursement for library cell phone costs upon submission of invoices.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Oh, okay. Second?
I second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sure. Rocco,
Yes,
Dr. George,
yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
Maddie,
Yes.
and Kevin.
Yes, thank you. Okay, moving on to finance. Action, the bill listing in the amount of $223,470.77. Now, I know Maria is not here, who usually makes this motion. I know that she did have several questions. They were emailed to the director. They were all answered, I believe, appropriately, no follow-ups, correct?
She had an additional question. So with regard to Survey Monkey, which is the tool that we're gonna be using for community feedback and market research, particularly with our new catalog that was going to allow us to identify potential people down to the level of the 4-digit addition of a zip code. She had asked why we were renewing it. I had said because it's what we're using for surveys. I've used it with community directors and other people. She said she wanted to see the survey sent out to the community and the responses that the library received. I had a little bit of a concern about this, so I wanted to address it with the full board.
So I apologize. I did see the email that she had requested that some examples be sent to the full board.
She requested one for herself, and I
Right.
said I thought it was best to bring them before the board, just
Okay.
quickly to go over it, can I, or you
Do you
prefer that I
want to
not?
go over it? Sure.
Yeah,
Yes,
the Lawrence Harbor survey, that we did, she wanted an example of a community survey. This is the example of the one that we did for Lawrence Harbor. We asked, why people would visit the library. We only had about 29 responses, but it was also simply posted on our webpage. It wasn't a properly sent out survey. We also asked what hours people wanted, what services, what their ages were. And then we also asked, to me, what was most important with this was whether they were interested in receiving future messaging. The reason why this is crucial is because as we move forward with any marketing efforts, we need to revive our constant contact, which has about 15,000 contacts that if no one has reached out to them since probably 2018 or possibly 2019. Now that we have the coordinator of strategy and communication, one of the first deliverables that I have is to revive constant contact, get all of these emails from the surveys back onto the list to grow that list. And then our newsletter, which I'm hoping to get that revived again for August 1st. that we would be able to send that out. So I thought it was important for the full board to simply understand the importance of Survey Monkey. It's $900 a year. We have 3 seats, so only 3 people at a time can use it. It now has a lot more AI in it. And Sarah, I know that that's kind of your area, but the cost of market research is very expensive. So I felt if we could do it with Survey Monkey for $900 a year, we'd be in a good shape.
So,
Could this wait till next month when, I don't like the fact we're ignoring Maria.
I didn't ignore,
no, I don't,
You didn't do one, but we don't know.
okay.
I don't know what Maria thinks about what you're saying. I mean, they didn't get back to us. So I don't think we can assume that she approved it. If
For what it's worth,
Sorry, we
Sarah?
lost you.
we kind of lost you there.
oh no, I stopped because I didn't want to interrupt Joan.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sarah, we're losing you?
Materials. So it's, the program is really, really good. It's really, now can you,
Well, you're breaking up, Sarah.
can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
better.
Okay. I said for what it's worth, we use Survey Monkey at my company and it's extraordinarily easy to use. We use it for all of our marketing materials and surveys, so
Yeah. I agree, right? There may be something better out there, or
It's-
there may be something better coming out. I don't know.
the-
But I certainly wouldn't. Oh, I'm sorry, Sarah.
Here, I don't know if that made,
So you're breaking up a little bit, but I wouldn't stop using something unless we have a replacement in mind, something that we know we're going to move forward with.
This
So if
expires
it's-
this month.
Right, so with that, I would say that we should continue, right? The one thing I would say that we probably could do without, maybe eventually, but again, not yet, is constant contact, because I don't feel that constant contact. I don't think that reaching out through people via email any longer, it has the significance that it used to, because there's so many filters to pull things into spam and promotions folders that people don't even see it.
But these are
But I-
people specifically requesting the email.
It
I
may,
think
I would think some of
constant
them are
contact.
people that signed up for a library card and we have their email address,
No,
correct?
we do
No?
not do that. We
Okay.
absolutely, libraries do not do that.
Okay,
Specifically because our use of people's contact information is very respected.
right.
These are people who have deliberately said, please contact me with library information.
But if we're going to do surveys, I think, obviously, if we're doing it to people through constant contact, that are people that are requesting that, then obviously they're people that are utilizing the library, have positive feedback already on the library, but we want to be able to reach a broader scope. Those people that aren't coming to the library, why not? What would bring you in? And so there, I think that's where I've been saying for quite some time now that we need to get more onto social media and start putting surveys and things on our social media accounts and build our social media accounts. So that's where I really think that the focus over the next several months needs to go.
Okay, so a couple of things.
Mhm.
One of the big concerns in libraries is social media, because you're driving people to third-party for-profit sites that compromise their information. So the reliance on social media is a factor, has to get done, but to put our eggs in that basket is something that could fall through any day.
Mhm.
My concern for the constant contact is less the surveys. I absolutely agree with you, but that's more for the newsletters. So eventually we want to have our monthly newsletter, and then we also want to have bi-weekly an events blast.
You could also broadcast that you have a survey on social media, and then that way that'll bring them into your website.
We are going to have so much fun this
Mhm.
year with
Mhm.
experimenting with all of these things. I'm just excited. And so you're absolutely right. We
Yeah.
may not have constant contact next year, but to get this, like print, people in this community still want print newsletters. How many are we willing to do?
Yeah.
So we have a lot of conversation to have in the marketing
Yep.
committee.
Yeah. Okay, so with that, I think that we're prepared to make a motion on the bill listing, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so do I have a motion to action the bill listing?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion on it? Roll call, please.
Dr. George,
No,
Sarah,
Yes.
Maddie,
Yes.
Rocco,
Yes.
and Kevin.
Yes, thank you. Okay, moving on to old business. There's nothing unless anybody has any old business they want to bring up. Okay, new business. I will kick it off to the director, school book kits.
I would like to make a motion. I would like to move that the discussion on the school book kits be moved to the next meeting so I can get some answers. I got some information from Dawn, but it's not enough to answer my questions.
So we were going to discuss that first. Okay, so you have
I
a
made
motion.
to
So,
move it because unless
so-
we're gonna be here till midnight,
okay, so there is a,
All right, so there's a motion
there's
to
a
table.
motion. Do I have a second? Anybody for a second? Okay, so then the
So a motion to table fails, so you're back
So
into discussion.
let's go to discussion. Go ahead, Dawn.
This is, the initial, proposal that I came up with. We know that the schools don't have libraries and, teachers are asking us to get, book kits in so that they can have, literacy instruction with students that's involved with particular titles. So with the list that I gave everyone, I did two things. Emerging literacy kits for preschool and grades 1 through 3. That we would have a nonfiction kit and a fiction kit, so there could also be the start of some information literacy instruction. And then in addition to that, for grades 1 through 12, we would do per grade level 2 titles of 30 books per title so that an entire class can borrow that. Now, I absolutely understand there being a lot of questions because this to me is just the trial to get started. I did discuss some of this with Rocco, that we would get this off the ground and then see where we move ahead. We've got questions, we've got things to figure out. Where are the kits being stored? Are we going to have this to where the teachers can reserve them? Are we going to have them passed around the district? Are teachers coming here to pick up the kits, which is what we want to drive traffic? How is the best way? So this was just a proposal that we would agree that this is something we want to move forward with and an amount, and I'm certainly ready for questions.
All right, first of all, somewhere on whatever is out there, we are not the only ones doing this. Lennox has some people that are involved in this also.
No,
Wow, there's information out there. All right. First of all, you talk about a bag of 30 books. What are you gonna do with it?
so it would be the bag of 30 books, it depends on your grade level. For preschool and 1 through 3, the emerging literacy kits would have a collection of books that would go out for free reading time
What do you mean go out?
to the
It goes
class.
out to who?
The class would borrow the set of 30 books.
But how
That's-
many classes are there on a grade level in the
And-
school now? There,
And,
I-
this is why we're not lending them for the year. It's something that the teacher can come and borrow the nonfiction book kit for 2nd grade for 2 weeks. And then someone else could come and borrow it. That's one type of book kit.
when are the books being read? At home? Is this for after-school activity to enrich? Or-
It's during school in the classrooms.
All right, there's another line that you said that the lessons would be developed by, the kit will include activities and suggestions for discussions provided by the library,
Yes.
but you're not teachers.
No,
No.
I don't
You're
need
gonna
to be a
develop-
teacher in order to develop book kits. The teachers can make up their own lessons and do their own thing. For those who don't have the time or aren't able, they would simply get some suggestions from us.
All right, these are all details which I would have to discuss later. Rocco, what happened to the libraries in the elementary schools? What happened to the books that were there?
Most
You
of them are dated, due to budgetary concerns. Many new books have not been bought. Most of them are old. Some of them have been, sent to different places to be resold. Some of them are just sitting in storage.
But are they still in the building? You know,
Some
if
of them,
the school has a library-
are, some of
Okay.
them are, some of them have been removed. We also do not have, due to the budgetary constraints, we also only have, I believe, one librarian in the entire district. The buildings at Jonas Salk School and Carl Sandburg Middle School and Old Bridge High School, they have become less libraries and more media centers, all with 21st century technologies. So books are, have been kind of, in terms of being in the libraries themselves, they've been made more into personal libraries in teachers' classrooms. But either way, any help that we can get from another public entity like the library would be greatly appreciated. I have already had discussions with several teachers at Old Bridge High School and Jonas Salk Middle School, where we are already coming up with ideas to work in conjunction with the librarians here to come up with a workable plan. We have some ideas, but particularly creating some kind of a schedule where some of these titles would be shared from teacher to teacher at each grade level. We also have some other ideas of creating free libraries, allowing with these other set of books of the other 30, creating some choice for our students to read on their own. I think this is a great opportunity to create those bonds that we have been talking about for years. And for the first time, we have a director who is actually making the effort to try to reach out to the Old Bridge Township Public Schools to make some kind of connection between this, something we have been talking about for a very long time, but it has not been done by other directors until now. So I fully support this idea.
Okay, Rocco, with all due respect, I don't know one darn thing about finance, but what I do know about is education. I
Yes,
have worked in the Old Bridge schools for 40 years. I have a doctorate in elementary education. Stop it already. So I know that kind of stuff. I know what can happen. I also know, didn't they just the other night pass the raise in the budget from the 2% cap
yes, they did.
on it? And didn't, I don't know what it's going up to. I think that when they took the librarians out of the school, that was wrong. I don't understand that, but I think they started with the middle school. The librarian went out and they had a middle school with no librarian. That's been the longest. What's concerning me is I don't know how these are going to be used. On a grade level, how many second grade classes are there in a grade level? I used to know those numbers. They're like 25 of them.
Well,
We have
there's-
11
if there's
schools, so
one-
it
if
has-
there's one set for each grade level for each school, correct? Or is it
No.
for
It's per grade level.
per grade level? So we can work out schedules. That is just something that particularly I am secondary English language arts, but Alexis Adolfo, who is the elementary English language arts supervisor, in conjunction with Dr. Tui, the head of curriculum instruction, I'm sure we could work something out where we could create something workable. To me, this is just a matter of administration sitting down and creating some kind of a schedule where this all can be used.
Now, the books that are picked out, everybody in the second grade isn't on the same reading level. So you would have to have who's going to do that? Librarians?
Yes, absolutely. And
How do they assess reading levels? They're not
I
their
was-
students?
they get taught by me because I was a school librarian for 6 years. And with regard to information literacy, independent inquiry, I feel that we can fulfill that. So you're absolutely right. When it comes to the set of classroom reads, let's say we have the Amelia Bedelia's for second grade, and there's a set of them. So teachers would have an opportunity to use one of the two sets to do a read aloud together, which is an opportunity they would like. And then the others would absolutely be at a range of Lexiles so that they can accommodate a larger group. But it's really that they're going to be selected to be nonfiction and fiction, so they can start looking at it. And this is gonna be for when kids have free time, you go and get a book and look at it for the other kids. For the emerging literacy kids, that's a free option for them to go choose what interests them.
All right, well, again, I don't really understand the mechanics of it. I don't know how much librarian time is going to be spent in making up the books and doing whatever, however they disperse them. You are having teachers come to the library to pick up a bag of books? Is that how they get it, or?
We have to decide.
Yeah, that's something to be determined.
We're not gonna do deliveries to every
Has
school.
anybody talked about, to the union, the teachers' union, about what this is happening? Because some of the things that the librarians are doing,
We aren't creating lesson plans. We're doing the same as what, so when we do adult book kits, we give a list of questions for discussion or activities for our book kits. We do that for everyone. So this is just one option that teachers would have. It's not a lesson
So
plan.
can I ask a few questions? So we're providing resources to the schools is
Right.
essentially what we're
Right,
doing. Is that correct?
And yes,
Okay.
and teachers all the time seek out resources
Right.
outside of what, of
Right.
their area of expertise. And as a matter of fact, as my job as supervisor, I
Yeah.
provide those
Yeah.
resources.
So
So
it's,
this is one other resource. Does a teacher have to, are they going to be, is it gonna be a mandatory thing where they have to follow these resources? Absolutely not.
right.
The teachers have their freedom of choice in this matter, as long as they stick to the curriculum and they are teaching what they're supposed to be teaching.
Correct.
I
Okay.
have no qualms with that, but this is just providing a resource, another resource for teachers who are already taxed for time. If they're trying on something new and they're not sure how to go about doing it, this is a way to provide them with some guidance.
Okay.
And also,
So-
like, a lot of the teachers look for mentor texts, so maybe this is another, way that they can do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And I have to say, a lot of this does just come from when I've been a school media specialist. I always take my public library sensibilities with me and I carry them all across. So that's realistically where this comes from, is programs I've set up in schools before.
So, my opinion is we've been talking for quite some time. This is back almost to Rocco's point about the first director in some time to actually be working with these schools. So we've been talking about that for some time and getting more involved within the community, particularly with the schools, especially since, I don't know, it's been about 2 years now since we've lost most of our, or all of our school librarians.
Yes.
So we've been talking about that for some time. So I think this is a big step forward. So what is the ask at this point?
And I'm so sorry that we didn't put that on the agenda. So for the proposal that I have, sorry, I've got it, yeah. $14,256.68. That includes 2 preschool kits, emerging literacy, 2 kindergarten emerging literacy, 6 grade 1 through 3 emerging literacy, 24 grade 1 through 12 read-along kits, which is 30 books per class, and it's 2 per grade level. And then it would be what are going to be the branded duffel bags, so that we're making this easy, because we don't want to be investing a lot of time in seeing what's in the bag or all the books there. We're going to have a laminated list for teachers to go through to make sure everything's back in the book kit. And this is the same model that we'll use for book kits that we would eventually use with borrowing with LMXAC. That's the same. I'm getting that going on another level, but this is the model for the book kits.
how
So-
long does the teacher keep the bag of books?
We have to decide that. My thought is a week for the same title kits and 2 weeks for the other kits. But that's something that it's basically, we're going to be backing it up, looking at the number of weeks that are available, the number of classes, and then that'll dictate to us how long a teacher can borrow them.
Now, the teacher has to bring the bag of books back to you, I guess.
We have to determine that.
If they stay in the library, I mean, you're finding a place to.
Well, that's the thing we're currently trying to see, and I think, these questions you're asking, Joan, I think are things that myself as English language arts supervisor on the secondary level and the elementary supervisor for English language arts, I think that is part of our purview as, supervisors to figure this out. Working with, again, with Dr. Tui, the Director of Curriculum Instruction.
I think you're in a couple of different areas, Rocco, so you may need Chris's input into it. You tell a union person that they have to bring it back and forth, good luck.
Well, the interface is with the school district. We're not dealing directly with a labor organization on this. They're the end users. They're not a party to this agreement.
But if the teachers say, I am not gonna go pick it up,
They don't have to, that this is an optional program. So yeah, you're right. If a teacher is choosing not to be participatory and active like that, that would be that teacher's
I
choice.
mean, you could use.
And that is true, but I can tell you right now, I've kind of straw polled some, at least on the secondary level, and ELA teachers are extremely interested.
Okay, so these books would be utilized within the classroom?
Yes.
So that would minimize the concern for books going home and then never coming back?
Correct.
Okay. And
are they gonna read it in the classroom as part of the class? Yeah, okay. That's another issue that I have. So what are they taking away from? Are they
Yeah,
not
we-
math when they're doing that, or?
With block scheduling, at the secondary level,
I don't know secondary, Rocco, with all due respect.
I totally, yes, and I totally understand, because I remember working for you, Dr. George. But I think with the block scheduling we have now, this is providing that, the resources we need for the reading time that we have. If you go into like a classroom now with six, particularly in the middle school, usually the first part of the classroom is that free reading time, which allows them to spend time actually reading text, but also gives the teacher time to work on other things with other students, providing some one-on-one instruction and things like that. So having an extra resource to do this, and to complete, like, again, this is something that is pretty, I think it would fit very well with what we have going right now on the secondary level for English language arts classrooms.
And when do you need to move with this motion?
If we're doing this, I mean, ideally, we want to get as much feedback as we can from the teachers. And I don't know how much we can get at this point. We want to be ready for September,
Okay.
and for the school year to start. So that's a couple of, that's a bit of work for us, because we've got also summer reading club going on and a lot of other transitions. So I want to space it out so that it's digestible for staff.
In most situations, knowing the way our curriculum works, the first month of September is usually spent, going over some of the basics in our classrooms, establishing some other things. Novel study and reading on this level doesn't really start until October, when teachers are actually beginning to look at the first novels. Most of the time, they're doing other things like reading shorter pieces, using some of the other resources that we have, doing some writing, diagnostic testing, a whole litany of things that go on in the month of September. So it's not really that we're going to need these books right off the bat in September. It's something that we can prolong into October or November.
So we don't need the action tonight.
We don't, but the sooner, so the thing is, actually having the books for the classrooms, I could see waiting until October. The titles, we need to get as soon as possible, because teachers over the summer are going to be making their plans for next year.
Yep.
And if they know that they're going to have access, they can look at title lists and think about those things. So it's not the physical kits, it's the lists of titles.
But could we do that
The Old Bridge Public
without?
Library will be closing in 15 minutes, and please bring all items to the front desk. Thank you, have a good night.
Could we do that without physically making a motion on the expense of it tonight?
I mean, to invest the time in selecting titles, but not purchasing them, I'm just not sure about. I mean, we can certainly start a conversation about what titles people would want. I just hesitate with new staff coming in to assign people a project when we're not sure that we're not gonna do
What's
it.
your feeling, Rocco?
I feel we just get this started as soon as possible.
Where are the books going to be stored at the library?
And so we've already started, so with us getting the preschool and the senior deliveries going again in September, we've already gone into technical services to clear shelf space. And that's where we're looking at where they're going to be stored, not only for these kits, but for the other deliveries we're gonna be getting back into, and then our adult book kits, which we're hoping to start circulating. We believe we have enough room in technical services to do that.
And if, you know, if approved tonight, I would, you know, I would start the ball rolling immediately. I've already made Dr. Tui aware of this today. So, but I told him I was waiting for this to happen. Once we have an official word, I would move forward.
Okay. Anybody else?
Patty, you're a teacher, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Do you have anything you want to add? Because it would be valuable.
Well, listen, right now, as far as libraries, it's throughout the state. I mean, everything's media based and there's always a need for more books. And even I look into working with my local library and I get books through them. So I think this is just, you know, this is the century. This is how we're moving forward, you know, and it's not just this district, it's just throughout New Jersey.
But thank you. I appreciate your opinion.
So if nothing else, then I'll ask if there's a motion.
I will make the motion.
Okay, then I'll ask for a second.
I second.
All right, any other discussion on this? Roll call, please. So do we need to document exactly what the motion is?
The motion's just to approve the school book kits project at a library expenditure of 14,256. Correct?
16.
256, 68.
Oh,
68.
68, I had 16. Oh,
That's the
forget it.
estimate.
I had that
I'll
16
I'll
cents.
bring it in under.
All right. All right, roll call, please.
Sure. Maddie,
Yes.
Rocco,
Yes.
Dr. George,
No,
Sarah,
Yes.
and Kevin.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, hoopla.
Hoopla, next. I don't think anyone probably remembers, but last month in the director's report, I discussed adding $500 a month to Hoopla. We've had a real increase, and what's happening. So Hoopla is a multi-format materials database featuring streaming and downloadable ebooks, e-audiobooks, music, film, and magazines. So one of the things we haven't looked at yet is we have an increase in our budget this year of, we will be having about $200,000. The most of the board's not seen that yet because it's only in the draft budget and it's not in the financial reports that you're seeing. So one of the things in the draft budget that I chose to invest that money in is all of our ebooks, e-audiobooks, and streaming materials. It's not stable and we haven't had the amount of staff needed to order enough ebooks to really make an impact on the community. Our Hoopla usage has been steadily growing. We got 100 new accounts in the past year, and that's with them constantly being told that they can't download anything because you've reached the daily limit. So last September, we added $500 a month, and now that limit's been reached to where that's not sustaining us anymore either. What I had proposed in the draft budget was an increase of 26,000 for this year in ebooks to more closely align with our numbers for circulation for ebooks versus print materials. And what I'd like to request at this time is increasing our investment in Hoopla $1,000 a month to $32,400 for this year. That money rolls over, it doesn't get wasted. We have dedicated people who are up waiting until midnight to try and reserve books because the limits get reached on a daily basis. And now the competition is coming in that even the ebooks we can order through Overdrive, Hoopla is competing with Overdrive. So there are some titles that will exclusively be available on Hoopla. In addition to that, Rocco also is a fan of Hoopla, as many people are, but we also want to start promoting this to the teachers. The schools did have a very specific request for e-audiobooks, and we just gave them a report on that, but there's a substantial number of e-audiobooks in Hoopla. So we're currently spending $1,700 a month, and I would like to increase for the next year to 2,700 a month. And then see how we're doing with ordering the ebooks on our own and getting that number of circulations up to where it accurately reflects the percentage of ebooks as compared to print books.
So what is the ask specifically?
The
So
ask is
for-
to increase our Hoopla investment
Oh.
by $1,000 a month. So $12,000 for the year. And that would increase us to $32,000 for the year for Hoopla. But we should have no foreseeable caps. Currently, people can take out up to 8 items a month. So people registered with accounts are taking out their 8 items a month. People
Mhm.
really like the service. So what we would do throughout the year is continue to monitor our usage. I've also, LMXAC was serving as our negotiator with the vendor. That's over. Because the money wasn't being taken care of correctly. And with an investment of this much in this resource, I feel that we should have a direct relationship with the vendor, and they are extremely responsive and willing to talk to me about anything, how to maximize our investment. So I think we have a good relationship. It's popular, people are using it, and then we will have considerations in the future. Let's say we add that $1,000 a month, and after 6 months, we have the same problem. We can reduce the number of checkouts people get per month. Like currently we have 8, we can go down to 6.
Mhm.
We could limit what things they can take out. There's a lot of ways that we can do it. Today alone, we had 5 people call to complain that they were turned away. And that's only the people who are calling us.
Mhm.
There are a lot of people not calling us. So I feel it's an investment in the library that also makes up for some of the staffing issues that we've had and would give us a catch up for the next year with regard to e-materials.
Okay.
The only number that I'd be interested in is how many people, different people,
Yep.
use this service.
We
Because
have,
we looked
it's-
about hotspots, we
Right.
found out, it wasn't the world using it. I'd like to know how many, because this is a library function. I think it needs to be supported and expanded. But
Right.
I would like to know how many people benefit from it.
and it's only about 308. That was the last time I checked, and that number's a couple of months old. So that's not an amazing number. Of course, the vendor's gonna try and sell me. What they pointed out was that our rate of growth to get 100 new people on in the last year is a tremendous rate of growth. And again, we don't lose our money. If we make the investment and it's not used, or we don't see what number do we want to have next year, does it need to be up to 1,000 people by next year? We are going to carefully chart those numbers and look at this experiment, because otherwise we need to have a lot more people ordering ebooks. This is a curated collection. It takes 0 staff time. There's nobody who's got to go weed old titles out, all of that. And they're also negotiating with the publishers, which is something that Overdrive can't always do, because ebooks are really up in the air.
It's just a matter of us having knowledge. We're spending money. What are we spending it for? That's what I would like to know. But I think that this is a library function. Getting reading material to people, that's what we should be doing.
Mhm.
So I don't have a problem with putting more money in it.
And I won't subject anybody to it, but the Hoopla increase, what I just gave them, or what they just gave me, literally is 20-some pages of looking, and the whole board can have this, to show me what time of day people are accessing the books, what titles they're accessing, what unique titles they're accessing. So what they're doing is investing in their company very heavily.
Okay, so any other discussion on this? Would someone like to make a motion to increase the hoopla?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, second? Thank you.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? No? Roll call, please.
So the number's 32,400.
Correct.
Okay, Rocco,
Yes.
Dr. George,
Yes,
Sarah,
Yes,
Maddie,
Yes.
and Kevin.
Yes. Okay, So director's report, we essentially covered that earlier, right?
I believe we have.
Does anybody else have anything on director's report? Okay, I'm gonna move on to committee reports. Building and grounds, Rocco, I know you had a meeting.
Yeah, we had a meeting last week with Dawn and myself. We just went over a couple of things, just some updates, really nothing being proposed or anything this evening. First off, we talked about the bathroom renovation. We're inquiring and we're going to Parks to try to get an architect. So that has been a bit of a challenge. So we're working on that currently. The furniture renovation phase 1 is moving along. We're going to have in July a full presentation of furniture and things like that. So there has been things that have been moved. We're moving things around. Things are moving very, very well. Next is the roof repair. Repairs were conducted by the DPW, and apparently Dawn can attest to that the repairs have worked. So.
Yes,
if you wanna-
we've had, where the front entrance connects to the main building, we've still had a little bit of an issue, but a very little bit of an issue. And the majority of when we needed 22 buckets, knock on everything holy, has been addressed.
Okay.
So that's good news. A passport area 2, all the work that needed to be done there has been repaired. That is complete. And then currently in progress, we have the HVAC. We're still working and troubleshooting some of the problems that we're having with that. More information forthcoming. The atrium, we're looking at renovation options again, something to present to the board later on this year. And that's basically it, for right now.
All right. Finance, Maria is not here, but I do know that we are due for a finance committee meeting. As you mentioned, there are a number of topics that need to be covered there. So I will chase on that and see if we can get something moving. Outreach and marketing, Frank is not here tonight. I don't know that we have anything coming up for that. There are a number of things we want to talk about in outreach, but I think that there's other priorities such as technology and stuff that we have to cover. Personnel negotiations. We did have a meeting recently as we took some action tonight accordingly. Sarah, is there anything else you wanted to bring up for personnel? I think we have it all covered.
Yeah, no, I think we covered it all.
Thank you.
We will have rank and file unit negotiations starting or will be preliminarily starting in September.
Okay, thank you. Policy, nothing, right? Okay, and technology, I did speak to Frank. We will be getting something within the next week, I believe.
Can I ask that we ensure that the servers be on the next agenda? Because literally, if they go down, the entire building is dead in the water.
Okay.
Every staff computer, every public computer.
Yep.
And the errors are coming in exactly as we said they would since March.
Okay, if nothing else from the board, I will open it to public comments. Would anyone from the public, either online or in the room, like to speak? Anyone online? No? Okay,
I'll say that I think approving more money for ebooks is a very good idea. Just,
Yes,
it's,
we're huge
we
Hoopla
use it all the
lovers.
time. It's, as she'll have an Old Bridge card in a moment, so.
yeah,
But, I absolutely agree that that's something that deserves investment.
yeah, I think it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
All motion.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Thank you, everyone, and thank you to all the public for your patience tonight. I appreciate it.